Alright, Shalom. First off, give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makar Give honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring, and truth and sincerity, and women and children who follow. So I wanted to do this lesson mainly about the biggest bomb that's went off in history, but it's also a comparison to, what they had back in the day compared to what we have now, and just the overall damage that can be done, with these missiles. Because of course we read the scripture, we see that it says the day should come that should burn like an oven, for an example. And we know that that the elect's gonna see that lake of fire, America on fire from coast to coast, and in order for you to imagine the lake of fire, so to speak, America, Babylon, on fire, if you understand the strength of these weapons and you see the capability of them, you can very well understand how being hit with that many of them will bring about the destruction of America. So I got a couple articles or a video I want to watch, and we're going to jump into a couple scriptures as well. And Lord as well, you brothers are edified, by this video. But this is from the chosenfiles.org. It says, and for some reason this website, it does that with the stars. So I'm gonna say force of nuclear bombs today. What if nuclear weapon is dropped? What if a nuclear weapon is dropped on your city? All right, so let's just skim and scan through it. It says a nuclear weapon is an explosive device that derives its destructive force from nuclear reactions. They can instantly devastate an entire city by fire, blast, and radiation. All right, so that's like when you read in the scriptures, and it's talking about it feels like an earthquake. You're gonna feel that power when it hits the earth. It says the earth shall flow to and fro, or shall wave to and fro like a drunkard. Okay, that's that power that you're gonna feel. That's the blast, and then also the nuclear wind. The scripture's talking about the wind as well, and of course the fire. The fire being like I said, the day that shall burn like an oven. The lake of fire, radiation. Their eyes shall consume in their head, and their tongue in their mouth. That's what it's talking about. Okay. Says nowadays, often we hear news regarding to nuclear missiles being tested. It is quite frightening because nuclear weapons are no joke, as it can cost thousands of lives. Look what happened in Japan way back in 1945. At the end of World War II, nuclear weapons have been used twice, since both in the United States and Japan. And on August 6, 1945, the U.S. Army Air Force detonated Little Boy over Hiroshima and Fat Man at Nagasaki after 3 days. All right, so it's giving you a comparison right now. Those two back in 1945, the two smaller ones that you're seeing right here. All right, looks like they're just under 10,000 meters high. That's about 30,000 feet. And that's in comparison to Mount Everest. So the one that we're talking about was actually detonated by Russia, all right, which was called Tsar Bomba. And when you look at the comparison, it's no compare. Well, this is the B-83. Now the B-83 was developed by the United States as a basically the next level. They were like, all right, we're gonna blow this bomb up, and nobody's gonna have anything that can compare to this. All right, so that's what the B-83 was. But Tsar Bomba, killed that one. So we're gonna just keep reading along. It says the bombing resulted in the death of approximately 200,000 military personnel and civilians, and it's quite frightening just to hear 200 200,000 people, 200,000 deaths inflicted by two nuclear weapons. All right, it says in this case, little boy and fat man seems to be weak compared to other nuclear weapons existing until today. So even though, like I said, 200,000 people died from those bombs back in World War II, they're weak compared to the ones for today. All right, 200,000 to 300 million people here in America, most of which are going to feel that flame. You know, 2/3 heathens, anybody who's not serving Yahweh Shem Yahshai. All right, it says, in the record, countries possessing nuclear weapons are United States, Soviet Union, France, United Kingdoms, China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea. All right, it says Israel is believed to also possess nuclear weapons, which they do. All right, so these are the people that you should look to where it says all these that bring the bows, shoot at them. All right, because these are the countries that have bows. It says spare no arrow. So there's not going to be any nuclear weapons that have been created that's not going to be used. Okay, ultimately, if they got them, they're going to shoot them. And who they're going to shoot them at? They're going to shoot them at America. They're going to destroy that land of Israel where those so-called Jews, those rats over there in our land, falsifying, claiming to be us, they're going to get it too. Okay, it says, so what the video below will show you is the simulations of how far and destructive a nuclear weapon can be. It also shows a number of nuclear weapons and the most destructive nuke that ever existed. So if Earth can actually get, I don't know what this is, probably fucked up with all these nuclear weapons, destroyed. So we're going to watch this. I don't know none of this content. Lord willing, they'll take this video down. But we're going to check this out real quick.
Ever since the first nuclear weapons test in the deserts of New Mexico and the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, nuclear weapons and Nagasaki, nuclear weapons have become significantly more powerful. Since the first test in New Mexico by the United States in 1945, 2,475 nuclear weapons have been detonated across the globe. Over 85% of those detonations have come from only two countries, however, the United States and the former Soviet Union. Only two of those thousands of detonations were ever used in a war, the ones dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II by the United States. But those bombs were very small compared to modern weaponry. The Hiroshima bomb produced an explosion of 15 kilotons, or 15,000 tons worth of TNT. The bomb dropped on Nagasaki had an explosion of 21 kilotons, but how much bigger can nuclear weapons possibly get? The answer is, terrifyingly, much, much bigger. The largest nuclear weapon currently in the United States arsenal is the B-83, which can produce a blast of 1.2 megatons. To understand the scale from here out, 1 megaton is equal to 1 million tons of TNT, and that is equal to 1,000 kilotons. Remember that the Hiroshima blast was just 15 kilotons, so that means that the B-83 produces a blast 80 times more powerful than that. What I've been showing on this scale is only the size of the mushroom cloud that the bombs produced, so to further add to this scale, we're going to place the size of Mount Everest here and the average altitude of a commercial airliner that you would normally fly on here. So, the Castle Bravo bomb is the largest nuclear weapon ever tested by the United States. It produced a blast of 15 megatons, or about 1,000 times the scale of Hiroshima. But even that pales in comparison to the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. In October 1961, the Soviet Union created the largest man-made explosion ever in human history when they detonated this device, known as the Tsar Bomba, here over this territory known as Novaya Zemlya. The bomb detonated with an astounding force of 50 megatons, or about 3,333 Hiroshima blasts. It was so powerful that it almost destroyed the plane that dropped it, shattered windows as far away as Norway and Finland, and the shock waves created by the bomb circled around the entire Earth 3 times. But this test was actually just a scaled-down version of what was theoretically possible. Although never tested, the Soviets did have plans to create a bomb that would be twice as powerful as even the Tsar Bomba, a bomb so powerful that it would have produced a mind-boggling 100 megaton blast, or about 6,666 Hiroshima blasts altogether.
Right.
To get another sense of scale, let's imagine that Times Square in New York City would be the epicenter of these blasts. You can test this stuff out yourself on the website Nuke Map after watching this video. I'll provide a link for it after the end, but let's see the results first. First off, we're going to show the size of this detonation, which was caused by the recent North Korean test in 2013. Following this, here's the size of the Hiroshima detonation, which isn't really that much bigger, but let's move on to the B-83 bomb that we were talking about. As you can see, it would affect a much larger area than the Hiroshima bomb. But moving on past that to the Castle Bravo test, we can see how it truly dwarfs everything else. But even that blast is incredibly tiny when we move on towards the Tsar Bomba as seen here. And then finally for our scale, we move on to how large the blast from the theoretical 100 megaton version of the Tsar Bomba would be. The blast would be so powerful. This is what the blast radius would look like if you were observing it from the International Space Station. So the question then becomes, should any of this really worry you? How many nuclear weapons exist today anyway? Well, in total, there are estimated to be around 15,600 nuclear weapons in the world currently, enough to destroy the entire planet dozens of times over. But only 9 countries control that stockpile, and 92% of those weapons are controlled by only the United States and Russia. The other 8% of the global nuclear arsenal is controlled in descending order of numbers by France, China, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. Israel is, however, highly secretive about its nuclear program and has never publicly confirmed nor denied the existence of their nukes. It's just one of those things where everybody knows that they have them, but nobody really comes out and says so. Unless your name happens to be Mordecai Vanunu, a man who did reveal details about Israel's nuclear program and spent 18 years in prison, including over 11 years in solitary confinement. Also interesting to note, South Africa used to be in possession of 6 nuclear weapons because the past apartheid regime was afraid of the 79% of the population that couldn't vote and communists trying to overthrow their government, but they eventually agreed to dismantle all of them, which makes South Africa the only country to ever acquire nuclear weapons and then voluntarily get rid of them. Well, unless you don't count Ukraine, Belarus, or Kazakhstan, which all had nuclear weapons for a brief amount of time after they declared their independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. Ukraine is particularly awkward because after their independence, they found themselves in possession of over 5,000 nuclear weapons, which would make Ukraine for a brief period the world's 3rd largest nuclear power and probably one of the most powerful countries on Earth as a result. They agreed to hand them all over to Russia in exchange for a super serious promise that nobody would violate their territory or borders in the future, and we all know how that turned out. As a result of that happening, it's doubtful that other countries would be thrilled to ever give up their nuclear weapons in the future, but leave your thoughts and comments below about how you video about myself very shortly. I'll try my best to...
They showed what it would be like if one of those bombs went off over New York, but just this past year, it was said that Russia has bombs that will go off that could destroy land the size of Texas or France. So that's what we're dealing with today. That's the ranking system of today, or better yet, should I say, that's the level up of today. All right, we're dealing with much bigger weaponry. Let me see. Here we go. This is from popularmechanics.com. All right. Slovakia. All right, here we go. It says, here's how much deadlier today's nukes are compared to World War II A-bombs. It says, with so much at stake, it's important to understand what these things are capable of. It says, the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II, codenamed Little Boy and Fat Man, respectively caused widespread destruction, leveled cities, and killed between 90,000 and 166,000 people. Were in Hiroshima, and about 20,000 of which were soldiers, and between 39 and 80,000 in Nagasaki. These are the only two weapons ever used in warfare. Let's hope it stays that way, or it isn't gonna be so. All right, like I said, America's gonna be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction, and everyone that has bombs are gonna use them. It says because some of the nuclear weapons today are more than 3,000 times powerful as the bomb dropped in Hiroshima. It says, let me see, let me get to the meat and potatoes. All right, here we go. Cause just a little background about the difference between an atom bomb and today what is used is called a hydrogen bomb. All right, it's just the way that it burns and a couple of the different protocols on how it's actually being detonated. All right, it says in a thermonuclear weapon, often called a hydrogen bomb, the fission process. Slacky. Slacky. It says in thermonuclear weapon, often called a hydrogen bomb, the fission process is only the beginning. Modern nuclear weapons, such as the United States B-83 bombs, use a similar fission process to what is used in atomic bombs, but the initial energy then ignites a fusion reaction in a secondary core of hydrogen isotopes, uh, deuterium and tritium. The nuclei of the hydrogen atom fuse together to form helium, and again, a chain reaction results in an explosion. This time's a much more powerful one. So it's much more powerful, like I said, than the old days. It's the same video. It says, as above, the video from YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. It tells us what we just heard. Let me see. It's pretty much, yeah, what we just heard. But the moral of the story is that today's bombs are way bigger than back in the day. Let me see. I want to get this. This is Isaiah 54, and starting at 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy." All right, so that smith is the actual scientist that made the bombs. Okay, the Most High put it in the minds. He put it in the spirit of those German scientists back in the day, the men of Teman, so to speak, um, to create the bombs and to basically get this destruction kicked off. That was like the beginning of a new era. All right, it says he created the smith that broke that bloweth the coals at the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. All right, the instrument is the actual missile, the actual ICBM missile that they're using nowadays, opposed to the atom bombs of yesterday. All right, it says, and I have created the waster to destroy. That's the purpose of these weapons, to destroy. All right, you don't use a nuke on a deer when you go hunting. All right, these are made to destroy, not just um, a little things made to destroy a big thing, a city, things of that nature. Um, and collectively, when they're shot on America, they're going to be the destruction of this place. All right, so with that being said, I hope you were edified. I'm going to give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yashai, by Shimmer Dash. The bodies to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect. All the brothers across the four quarters who are enduring. In truth and sincerity, we will be sure to follow. Shalom.